I swear to God, this always happens. Something falls off set every time I start recording. This is what fell off. The baby face mask. God damn it. Right. So, it's been a while. I've not made a video in a long time. Not one like this anyway, where I just sort of sit down and like talk or do a review. But yeah, I've been busy, but I'm back. And with this video, I really wanted to talk about the film Scream 7. So Scream 7 was anticipated to be like a comeback to the franchise, especially after all the controversy regarding Spyglass, I think it is, and them firing the actress, what's her name? Yeah, them firing Melissa Barrera, is it? Barrera? I'm terrible with name pronunciations. But yeah, after they fired Melissa Barrera, after they fired her, and then Jenna Ortega, who I think she left due to that, there was like reasons and stuff like that, and I'm not too, I know all the details, but it's something that I'm like, oh gosh, it's a big mess. But no, there's a lot of controversy regarding the Spyglass stuff, and you know, the multiple script changes, you know, firing the actress, and then the other actress Jenna Ortega leaving and stuff like that. And I thought it was you know, really, I was like, oh, we're not gonna get Scream 7, but then we got Scream 7, and for a while it was looking like things were gonna be on the up. Now, I wasn't in support of Spyglass or anything like that, but I had to go and see the film. I had to go see it. As a big horror fan, I had to go see it. So I put all the controversy aside, and I was like, I have to go see this. And then I went to go see it. I wish I never saw it. You disappointed me. You disappointed me. Here is my overall view on Scream 7. This will include spoilers, so please, you know, stop here. Stop. So obviously this isn't just like, you know, not everyone's going to agree with like my takes and like stuff like that, but I think the majority of people who watch this, I really hope you do agree with me on one thing. If you have watched the film, the ending was atrocious. So my main issue with Scream 7 is the fact that it has a really bad ending. So for most of the film, it goes a bit like this. Ready? Watch this. Whoa, 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 oh, peak. Oh, third act. Dead. It does a awful job with the ending. Now, here is my issue. They brought back Matthew Lillard. Matthew freaking Lillard. Mr. Scooby-Doo Shaggy Rogers himself. Mr. Stu Macker himself. Mr. William Afton. Mr. 13 Ghosts himself. And what did they do? They wasted him. So, in the film, you have Matthew Lillard's character come back as Stu Macker, but he's not really there. And this is a big thing towards the end of the film. The whole film, Sydney is going through this thing that she's like, I don't know if it's Stu or not, could he be alive? And they do a really, really good job at making us like think, is he or is he not? Is it AI when the phone comes up and it's, you know, they're using the live feed? Is it AI? Is it Stu? They do a really good job at making the audience go, I don't know. And it genuinely boggled my mind, and the people I saw the film with, it boggled their minds too. They were like, we don't know. Because me and like my friends, we kept looking at each other like, is it? And like, we got to the end and we were so disappointed. Because my main issue with the film is the ending. But that's not the only issue, it has a lot of issues. Scream 7's ending is so bad. So, obviously, for those who watched it, the ending, it turns out to be the neighbour, which I think her name is Jessica, and then there's the hospital ward guy, who I don't even remember the name of, so I'm just like, that's two forgettable characters right there. The neighbour shows up 3 times, I think, in the space of the film before she reveals to be like the mastermind behind it all. And the hospital ward guy shows up once. People complain that Scream 2, Mickey being the killer, is like stupid because he doesn't pop up often. At least he has some relevance, and at least his motive's really cool. I thought the motive of the killer and the killers was awful. I thought that this character, this neighbour, going like, oh, I'm gonna kill you and your family because I'm mentally ill, and you stop writing a book, and you didn't go to New York in Scream 6. And I was like, you don't make any sense. And it frustrated me so much. And, you know, when I was watching the film, it was doing such a good job. You know, there was so much action going on. There was so many good scenes with Ghostface. Ghostface felt like a proper horror icon in this one instead of just a goofball. You know, there were times where he'd trip up and whatnot, but he was menacing. There were so many scenes where he'd be in the shadows like freaking Michael Myers or Batman. He was doing a really good job. You know, the film was doing a great job at basically giving us the horror back for Scream. And the ending was just atrocious. So the ending was like the first thing I was like, they messed up on that. And if I was to make the ending, I would have scrapped the neighbour and scrapped the mental ward, and I would have made the main killer Stu. And everybody was expecting it. And the thing is, I think maybe that's the reason why they didn't do it, because they were thinking, you know, oh, people are going to expect Stu, so we're going to not do Stu at all, and we're going to pull like a 180 and just do something else completely. I feel like that was a really poor choice. I feel like even if people were expecting Stu, you would have had a great film and a great ending by having Stu there. And they already knew they were going to make Scream 8, so why didn't they do something like this? So, here's what I would have done. I would have had the whole film be pretty much the same, just a few changes. I'd change the beginning, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I'd go through the whole film, and it's like, is it Stu, is it not? It would be Stu. But here's what I would have done. I would have left it on a cliffhanger end that leads into Scream 8, because it would have been the first time the franchise has done that instead of having a closed-off end. And it would have been perfect. I would have had it be Stu, and I would have had it be the neighbours, the neighbour and the hospital attendant guy. And basically what would happen is Stu lived, he was at the mental place, the mental institution, he got out, but something I feel like he could have been doing is he was manipulating people. And I feel like what they should have done is the original thing for Scream 3. So if you don't know, the original script for Scream 3 was going to be Stu Macher returning, and he was basically going to have a bunch of like cult members who like love the Stab films and love him, and they were going to be like, you know, his workers and his like, you know, cult members. But they couldn't do it because of the tragic thing that happened with Columbine, with the school shooting, which was awful. But you know, because of that, they had to change the script around, and they had to like change all the violence, which is why Scream 3 is so watered down and takes place in Hollywood. But we all know in Scream 3, the biggest killer was Courtney Cox's haircut in that film. That was tragic. Those bangs were awful. The hair designer on that film, the hairdresser on that film was the real killer, everyone. But in all seriousness, they had to change a lot for Scream 3. But I feel like they should have brought that back, that idea, and they should have had it in this film. Scream 7 should have been a revival of the original Scream 3 script. They should have had Stumacher manipulating people who were vulnerable, who were like not all there in the head, like the neighbour, and you know, and he should have had a cult following. And then at the end of the Scream 7, you know, the neighbour gets killed off, the mental patient attendee ward gets killed off, and then you'd have Stumacher who gets away, and then there's a bigger reveal that there's more than just those two ghost faces working with him. There's a whole bunch of them. And then I don't know if you'd go off into this and have the whole town be involved, like a Hot Fuzz situation. Maybe not the whole town, but like people within the town and people within Woodsboro and stuff like that. And then they'd have to go back to Woodsboro for the final with Scream 8. And that would have been great. That would have been perfect. You could have had a cliffhanger, you know, where you don't know if Sidney's partner, the police officer, the dad, you don't know if he's alive or not, and it's on a cliffhanger, it's all shocking, it's all a big thing, and it would go, it would be such a shocker, it would be a screamer. But no, they had to just do what they do all the time and have a closed off end. And this is another problem of mine. I feel like Scream 7 felt more like a stab movie than a Scream movie. It felt like it was trying to be too different to the point where it didn't work. The original Scream, the reason it works so well is because it was self-aware at the time and it felt grounded within its, you know, within its realm. It felt so grounded. And that's why it works so well, because it had just like this flair to it that no other film had at the time. And that's why things like I Know What You Did Last Summer, that's why films like that succeeded when they first came out, because, you know, they tried that formula too and it worked. You know, it was like a pinnacle of the late 90s and early 2000s. But no, they really failed with the ending of Scream 7, and I feel like they should have gone with the Stumacher route. Here's my other issue with the film. The beginning has nothing to do with the rest of the film. It doesn't impact the film at all. In every Scream film, maybe except for Scream... No, actually Scream 6 even does it as well. Every Scream film has the opening play out the way it does because it impacts the rest of the film. For example, the reason Casey is killed in the first one is because she sits in the same class as Sidney does, and there's that scene where Sidney looks at the chair and she notices that Casey Becker's not there, and she does have a thought process of like, oh crap, she sits next to me. Also, it kicks off the film just with its first kill because it's a gruesome murder in a small town. The second film is definitely linked because both of the people killed attend the same college as Sidney does. The third film, it's Roman... is it? No, not Roman. Cotton Weary, that's it. In Scream 3, Cotton Weary is killed off, and that impacts the film because it's, again, relation to Sidney. She knows the guy, and it takes place in the location of Hollywood where the other murders take place and where Sidney's, like, nearby. Scream 4, it's clearly related because it's related to Jill Roberts and her friends who get killed, and each one has a link to it. You know what I mean? It's always linked to someone, and it's always someone you know what I mean? It's like always linked. Even in Scream 6, it's linked because it's the students that are in the same class as Samantha and Tara. So it's linked. But Scream 7, it is not linked at all. Scream 7 is not linked whatsoever. It literally, the only link it has is that it takes place in Woodsboro. It takes place in the house, in the Stumacher house. But it is barely talked about. It's not talked about once, I don't think, in the rest of the film. That's a pretty big thing. The opening was so impactful to the audience, but it has no impact on the story whatsoever. And if they did the Stumacher route and they had a scene, right, if they had a scene where Sidney went all the way back to Woodsboro and like went to the wreckage of the burnt down stew house and maybe found like a clue or something like that with Gale, that would have been amazing. That would have been something that contributes to it, because at least you're linking something to the rest of the story. Or even if, you know, it was Stu at the end of the film and he talks about the reason why he burnt down his old house, because he wanted to create a new legacy or something like that. They could have done something so smart, and they didn't. And it pissed me off when I found that out, because I didn't really notice it at first, and then I was like scrolling on Instagram, I think, and someone was like, here's a shocker, the rest of the film has no impact to the beginning. And I was like, and I just sat there and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, that's crazy, that is so crazy. Besides the ending and the beginning having nothing to do with the rest of the film, and it has no impact whatsoever, I do also feel like a lot of the character choices and a lot of the characters' like personalities are all like just so tamed and watered down. Like, I feel like there was so much potential to just focus on, you know, more of the main characters than focusing on all these side characters as well. Because the thing is, the side characters, they don't have any development whatsoever outside of like, he's the weird kid, she's this kid, she's this kid, that's McKenna Grace, she's gonna get killed off in 10 minutes. Like, you know, it doesn't have anything to it. The original Scream films, the first 4, in my opinion, have such good character development, except for Scream 3. Sorry, had a cold there. But even Scream 3 was a good enough film. It's the weakest out of the lot, in my opinion. I know some people like put Scream 3 at the top of their list, and that's completely fine. I don't personally, but that's fine. But, you know, to me, even though that's like the weakest one, in my opinion, it's still a better Scream film than Scream 7, because at least it all links. Scream 7 feels like it's just trying to be an action-packed horror film, and it's just like they got like the mystery halfway and then they just chopped it off. So the mystery just feels like it goes all the way up to the end and then just cuts off, because there's no real reason to be using a character like Stu Macher at the end, you know, especially if he's not even in the end of the film and he's not actually alive. I just don't understand why the neighbour and the mental ward worker had to do that. I don't know why they had to do that for. I feel like the film would have actually been better if they didn't do that. If they wanted to go with those two killers having a motive, they should have made a new motive completely, and they shouldn't have done the Stu Macher thing, because the Stu Macher thing would have been a great mystery. And even if people were going to guess that he is alive, and he was alive, you would have had a better film. You would have had a 10 out of 10 film from me, because at least then you've given what the audience wants. Because I know that like 85% of the Scream fans would have wanted that. I know they would have. And even the ones that go, I wouldn't have wanted that, shut the fuck up, you would have wanted that. You would have loved it. And to have that character come back, you would have craved it, you would have loved it. I'm forcing my opinion upon you now. There was a lot of like just nice fun moments, especially with the chase scenes and the entire like home invasion scene where Ghostface jumps from the attic. That was so cool. That entire scene, I was like, yes. And the fact that they killed a Ghostface mid film, and it was like one of these like mental patients. The fact that they killed one mid-film, to me was like, okay, this is groundbreaking, they're doing something different. And this is what I mean, it always comes back to the end, because you have so many good things leading the way, and then you get straight to the end, and then it just drops off. And it's not a good drop-off either, which is why they should have had the Stu ending, and they should have done a cliffhanger. If they wanted to make another one after, they should have done a cliffhanger. And then it would have led into Scream 8. And then Scream 8 would have been your finale. That's my take on Scream 7. But yeah, that's my views on Scream 7. And I know this video has kind of just been me rambling on and stuff like that, but that's how passionate I am. You know, when I'm sitting around with friends and I'm talking about films, I'm always getting so passionate about them. And it's because I care about this franchise, and I care about horror in general, and films in general. I care about them a lot. And I feel like, you know, this film really did just flop when it came to like the performance of it. Like it didn't do what I wanted it to, and that's mainly because of the beginning and the end. And those are two of the strongest points of the films. You've got to have a good opening hook, and it was a good opening hook until you realise that it has nothing to do with the rest of the film. And that's pretty big. That's pretty big. That's like watching A New Hope and then the beginning of New Hope having nothing to do with the rest of the film, because the beginning of New Hope is literally what drives the rest of the story. Like, the beginning is the hook. It's the thing that drives it forward. So you've got to have a decent opening, a decent hook that makes people go like, okay, I'm intrigued, what's this about? You know, and the film did that, but then when you quickly realise that, you know, when you get to the end, you realise it has nothing to do with it, you're like, that was a big waste of time. But yeah, that's my views on Scream 7 as a film, and although I didn't really talk about any of the controversies, you know, beforehand and like leading up to the film being made, there's loads of videos on that. I'm sure you can find something. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about the film itself and how passionate I was about, like, well, I say passionate, how angry I was coming out of that screening. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this little like ramble of Scream 7. I really don't know what they're going to do for Scream 8, but I'm down to make a video on that if they make it. And yeah, if there's any other films that you want me to talk about, please let me know down below. I'm down to take suggestions. And yeah, I just wanted to really talk about this film in particular, because it's been on my head every time like someone mentions it, and I'm like, I do want to make a video talking about my issues with it, and mainly the beginning and the end. So yeah, but I really hope you enjoy, and I will see you later.